Okay, hi everybody. I'm so glad to be with you today in our little Hollywood Squares boxes. And oops, I don't want to do that. Okay. Hey, before we really get started, I'll tell you I'm Lori Wald, and I do teach mindfulness meditation practice. I can't really teach you to meditate. I can only teach you to practice. And it's my passion. And I also want to introduce Joel Javich, my associate, who is the Zoom wizard for me. So really, before we get started, Joel's going to throw up a poll. This is the magic of Zoom. And I want you between 1 and 10, tell me how anxious, how stressed you feel right now, 10 being the most, 1 being the least. So just click. Don't put too much thought into it. How anxious, how stressed do you feel right now? I'll admit I'm pretty high right now. So you click and submit. Thank you. Lots of 5s. I'm an 8 because I was rushing to get here and didn't feel prepared and blah, 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 all that stuff. Okay, so you can see how people are feeling. Thanks. So remember that number. We're going to come back to it one more time. Okay, so like I said, I can't really teach you to meditate. I can only teach you to practice. It is a practice. And the point of meditation for me is to become more mindful, more present, more myself in some ways. And what I wanted to focus on today, because we're in the midst of a campaign, and I know campaign means something different to all of you than it means to many other people in the country. So when I'm talking about campaign, I'm talking about our Campaign for Jewish Needs, which maybe puts a few extra responsibilities on your shoulders. And I want to talk about the story of not having enough time. So just to think about that in perspective is, how many times do we say this? I don't have enough time to do it. I don't have enough time to meditate. I don't have enough time to take lunch. I don't have enough time to stop and go to the park and just take a leisurely stroll, not because I'm trying to get exercise or do something good for myself, just because I want to take some time. How often do we say it? And that story puts so much extra pressure on us. And it's really just a story that we keep telling ourselves in our minds. It's a story of our own creation. So I'm not saying that you have all the time in the world, that everything on your to-do list could easily get done if only you were just a bit more organized. But what I am saying is that if you can cultivate a different kind of relationship with that story, it may give you a little bit of relief. And that's where the practice of mindfulness meditation comes in, because throughout this practice, what we learn is to be more present, more mindful. So mindfulness is being aware of your present circumstance as it is, not as you wish it were, but as it actually is, and to be aware of this with some openness, with some compassion, and with some courage. So it's really an easy thing, and you hear about mindfulness wherever you turn, like, oh, just be more mindful, pay more attention. It's a real easy thing to say, and it almost becomes a platitude. But to actually get to that place where you can be more mindful takes practice, and it's really a pretty simple proposition. So if you all can see my hand, okay, and you see what I'm doing with my fingers. But at the same time, you can pay attention to what I'm talking about. your attention is just, it's pretty simple thing. You can focus on what I'm talking about even when I'm distracting you with my hand. So that's what we're talking about with mindfulness, with being present. How do you get yourself to focus on what's actually happened when you have so many distractions? Distractions as your to-do list, or the thing you forgot to do, or the thing that you're positive is going to happen and you can't figure out how you're going to avoid it. Or there's a noise, or 25 emails just popped up in your inbox, and you really want to focus your attention on what you intended to do. How do you become more intentional about your time, and about what you want to accomplish? Well, we do this through a practice. And what I'm going to teach you today is 3 very simple tools. One is a breathing exercise. The second one is a body awareness scan. And the last thing is sitting in stillness. So meditation, people often look to it for various things. And someone said before, I think Diane said, it helps her fall asleep. That's wonderful. That's great. And it may do that for you. I don't know. I don't know that having a meditation practice will necessarily accomplish anything for you. Although there is lots of evidence that says it does decrease stress level, it can lower your blood pressure. There's lots of valuable health benefits that I believe will happen, but there's no guarantee about anything. But what I can say is that if you do have this practice, it will be highly impactful on your life, and there will be some changes that will happen. Change happens anyways, right? But there'll be some positive and important yet subtle changes. So the most important thing about having this practice is that it's not something that everyone comes to meditation for a reason. I came to meditation because I was trying to complete writing a novel, which is a hard thing to do. But what I got from the practice was so much more. And it did change my relationship with time. So I taught my son to meditate a number of years ago, and he takes after his mother. He's highly anxious. And what he said to me after he cultivated the practice was, he used to approach every day saying, how am I going to get through? How am I going to accomplish all these things? How am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? And he said, then he started to say, I'm going to do as much as I can. And he, for a moment, made peace with that. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to accomplish as much as I possibly can. And that's so different than having this gigantic to-do list and trying to click it, get to the end. And we all know, especially during campaign season, you're probably not going to get to the end of that list. Okay, so the progress of this class is that I'm going to teach these 3 tools. And at the end after we do sit in stillness, I would ask you to come back, and maybe if we have time, we'll have some group discussion about what the experience was like for you, or anything else that you would care to share. So for this part of the class, it's fine if you want to keep your cameras off. If you're more comfortable with that, no problem. If you decide that you want to stay for the discussion at the end, should we have time, I would just ask that you turn your cameras on for that. But other than that, free for all, do whatever is most comfortable for you. Okay, so we're going to start with the breathing technique. So breathing is an interesting thing, right? It's always there. We're always doing it. We pretty much take it for granted until we don't have access to it for some reason, until it becomes difficult. And it has it has everything to do with our nervous system. It's the one aspect of your nervous system that you can intentionally control. You can't really control your digestive system. It's pretty hard to control your heartbeat. But your breathing, you can take some control over it. So what I would ask you to do right now is to sit in a comfortable and dignified position, whatever that may mean to you. You may close your eyes if you want to have a little bit of less distraction, but you don't have to. And see if you can find your breath. So what I mean by that is just notice your breath. It's easier to notice when you exaggerate your breath, and if you want to do that, you can start out that way. You could also put your hand on your belly and notice the rise and fall of your abdomen. You could notice the rise and fall of your chest. If you want to put a hand under your nostrils, you might notice the whisper of air as it goes in and out. See if you can notice your breath. And then once you do notice your breath, without changing anything as much as you can help, you're going to start to count your breaths. So every inhale and exhale to a 1 count until you get to 10, and then start again. If you get distracted by something, notice that you're off in your thoughts and you forgot to count, just start again. No big deal. No judgment. Not trying to get great at this. We're just trying to do this, to focus on our breath. Every inhale and exhale is a 1 until you get to 10 or till you get distracted, and then start again. And this time when you get to 10, just open your eyes or come back. And I'm going to ask Joel to once again throw out the poll. And please rate your stress level now between 1 and 10. 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest. We still have a 9 up there and a couple of 8s, bunch of 7s. 1, or I think it's 1, I don't know, 4%, I'm totally chilled out. Okay, thanks. So what's important though is here to notice you. Did you decrease at all? Are you about the same? Are you higher? And whatever the answer is, that's okay. Remember, awareness of your present circumstance as it is, not as you would choose it to be, with openness, with compassion, with some curiosity. What's going on? What's going on inside of me? So it's what we're trying to do, if we're trying to do anything, is to accomplish understanding ourselves a little bit better. So as a meteorologist would report on the weather, 80 degrees today, but temperature's going to drop by 40 degrees tomorrow, and we expect a little bit of hail, could turn to snow, and then let's look for flash flooding. But they're objective. They're just telling you the facts. This is what's happening. You hear that forecaster. Oh my God. I'm going to have to turn my heat on. And then I was supposed to go to the blah, blah, blah tomorrow, and I'm going to forget my umbrella. And then if I do that, I'm not going to get these 3 things in because the weather's going to interfere. And you start to go off in your story. You're very judgy, borrowing from the future story. And can we stay in the present a little bit longer? Just noticed. Some of us are so busy, including me, planning for what we're going to do. We don't really do as much, right? We're so busy planning our lives, we don't have time to live our lives. So how do we do that with such a long to-do list? And the only answer that I have is to stay more present more frequently. We don't have to accomplish it 100% of the time, but let's at least cultivate the tools that will allow us to identify where we're going with our thoughts. Oh, I'm worrying about what might happen tomorrow, and that's making me feel anxious. I can feel my chest muscles clenching up, and I can feel my jaw getting rigid. At least let us be at the point where we can identify that and say, okay, I see where you're going with this. This is what happens to me. And I know also, because I've had experience, I've had practice, that this is temporary. Whatever I'm feeling right now is going to last about 90 seconds, and then I'm going to be on to the next thing. Can we get to know ourselves that well that we could notice objectively what's going on and then come back into our present? From here, I want to go into the body awareness scan. So this is a matter of learning about all the various parts of your very own body and what they do for you. And from there, we'll go right into a guided silent meditation. So once again, and by the way, I forgot to mention, if anyone has any questions, probably not during this next time because you're going to be concentrating and focused, you could always put it in the chat box and Joel will monitor that. So if you want to do that, yeah. Okay. So once again, your comfortable yet dignified position. In as upright a posture as you feel comfortable doing. And some people had mentioned before about trying to go to sleep with meditation, which is perfectly respectable and no problem. But for purposes of this exercise today, you kind of want to straddle that edge between being awake and being asleep, because we want to be aware of everything that's going on. If you do feel that you're going to fall asleep, it's okay to open your eyes. That might make it a little bit easier to stay awake. So once again, find your breath wherever it is easiest and simplest for you. Just notice where you are right now. And I'm going to ask you to use your imaginations to imagine a soft, warm, bright light that's floating out right in front of your eyes. And by the way, if this doesn't work for you, just ignore me and keep focusing on your breath. But if you can, imagine the soft, warm light that floats in front of your eyes and shines into your eyes, and it's so soft and so warm and so comfortable that your eyeballs relax in your eye sockets. The light travels down to your cheeks, and all the tiny muscles in your cheeks become soft and warm and relaxed. Travels into your jaw, which is a place where we hold so much stress, and see if you could allow your jaw to just become warm and soft and relaxed. What does it feel like to let your jaw relax? Allow the light to travel from the outside of your lips to the inside of your mouth, and your tongue is bathed in light, and even your tongue becomes warm and soft and relaxed. The light goes down your throat, all the tiny muscles in your throat relax. And now the light rests on each of your shoulders, and everything, all those responsibilities you've been lugging around and carrying around with you for weeks and days and years just slide right off, and your shoulders are relaxed. The light goes on the outside of your arms to your hands. You might feel that vibration of life energy in the palms of your hands. The light comes up the inside of your arms to your chest. Your entire chest cavity is filled with this warm, soft light. And even your heart, as it continues to beat, beats a little bit more warmly and softly as it pumps blood to every cell in your body. This miraculous organ we all have working so hard for us in our chests. The light comes down into your belly. Just let it relax. Just let your stomach go slack and let it relax. It comes to the tops of your legs, down to your feet. Allow the bottoms of your feet to become warm and soft and relaxed. And now the light comes up to the base of your spine, and that becomes soft and warm and relaxed, and your entire spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, becomes warm and soft and relaxed. Your spine is a perfect metaphor for everything we want. Strong enough to hold you erect, flexible enough to let you bend. And now your neck becomes very soft, very warm. The light travels to the back of your skull, to the top of your skull where your brain is, and even your brain gets a little soft and relaxed. And even though you still have thoughts, you always have thoughts, even when you're trying to meditate, your thoughts become just a little bit softer. Now from here, we're going into a guided mindful meditation. The most important part about this meditation is to be kind to the meditator, that's you. So just like when a little kid's learning to walk and they fall down, you don't say, just get up and walk. Come on, anybody can do it. No big deal. You say, it's okay, honey. I believe in you. Try again. This can be your mantra. If you choose to repeat something, I believe in you. So find your breath if you've lost track of it. And you could just do that breathing exercise, that counting 1 to 10 if that works for you. Or just notice with kindness your breath, your anchor, what's always there for you. And we just sit without goal, without a job to do. This is our time. And when a distraction creeps in, like a thought or a sound or a worry, see if you can just notice that distraction. Notice what happens within you, in your body, in your nervous system when that happens. And come back to your breath. We simply start again. It's okay. I believe in you. Try again. Can you be open to the present? Can you notice what distracts you and still hold your attention? Like when I was moving my hand and talking, can you focus on your breath? Notice where you are. Where did your mind go? Gently come back. Just start again. And now for the last minute, just stop trying. Now I'm going to ask Joel for one last time to put our poll up, just so you can take stock of where you are. So I find it interesting to see, how the numbers change, but really it's just for you to notice if you're different or not. And either way, perfectly acceptable. So I am quite curious if anyone is willing to share what your difficulties were with this practice. Just if anyone would be interested in sharing what their experience was. And usually when I teach this, I can never tell how it's going because people, even in actual physical rooms, when I've done this, people kind of go, they're all woozy and walk out, but not always. So anyone have a problem, find themselves quite distracted while they were doing this?
I'll share. Oh, I'm sorry, did
Go ahead.
someone else?
I
Okay.
can't.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think for me, I don't think I realized like I clench my body like just as my normal state. And so when you were having us relax and all the different parts and then sometimes during the rest of the meditation, I'd find like my legs starting to clench again and, you know, my arms clench. And it's just kind of my natural state. And it's obviously something I need to work on trying to not do that as my normal walking around. So just trying to learn how to
So
relax my body.
I will give you a little advice, Lisa, which I don't, I do this very intentionally. I would advise you not to try to change it. Just try to notice it. It might change anyways,
Yeah.
but it's so much pressure to try to change it. Just
that's true. Yeah.
You've noticed something. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else notice anything or?
I had a couple distractions because my husband came in through the door and slammed the door, and I'm right by the door. But I noticed the cars going by, and I tried to let it go and come back to my breathing. And what seemed to help me was I was saying, breathe in the good, breathe out the bad. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that kind of helped me stay focused.
Yeah. It's like using a mantra. A mantra is simply a word that you repeat to get yourself to focus. So anything that's helpful is right. So yeah, and it's interesting that you know the distraction, right? And I know like a lot of times, gosh, when I would teach in person and people would say, oh, the heating duct, I couldn't do it. The heat kept going on and off. How would you expect me to be able to do this when there's this noise distracting me? It's like, well, right? That's why this is practice, because and when you get distracted by something like that, it's great practice because it's such a benign distraction compared to what we're dealing with for the rest of the time that we're trying to operate, right? That's what happens. We get distracted and we lose our focus. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
So I can actually tune out the distractions going on in my house, but I fall asleep. I not at night, but when I take the time to stop, to notice my breath, any time that I've tried to meditate in the past, I won't use the word failed because I know that's probably not the right lingo for it, right? But I have met with challenge because I will doze off and then I will startle awake, which will get my heart like all jittery.
Yeah.
And so it has almost a counter effect for me.
A counter effect. Oh, because you mean it's startling you and you're getting
right.
Anxious.
So instead of having that nice relaxation, I like jolt awake because I'm trying to stay awake. And so, right. And so it causes a startling.
So I'd say a couple things. A lot of people, a lot of the time find meditation, it's not a sedative for one thing, but it can help you fall asleep, but the goal is not to not feel anxious. The goal is to know what you're feeling. So you know you're feeling tired. So I say that's success, okay? So that's, like maybe you're way more tired than you really even realize you are. I don't know. And if you do, want to try again, to be more, you can do this standing. And that's pretty helpful, in helping you not fall asleep, is just to stand. And maybe you want to try, 5 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute standing, and you probably are not going to fall asleep. But I think you're tired. Yeah. So we can have some compassion. You can have some compassion for yourself for that. So, yeah. So, anybody else have like a burning desire to say something, or I'll wrap it up for you. Okay. So, a couple of things that I want to say at the end. I like to give homework. And I would just say if you can be aware without judgment of the story you tell yourself about not having enough time, when that comes up for you next time, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Just notice that you said it. Notice what your body does when you tell yourself that story, and see what your relationship is with the not enough time story. Yeah, and the other thing, I'm quite interested in knowing how I could best support you in cultivating this practice if this is something that you want to cultivate. And obviously, it quite dramatically changed my life, but also it was in a subtle way. So, it's like we all need so much to be in the present, and when there's moments of joy or moments where even a part of our body feels relaxed, maybe not your whole body, but maybe a part of your body, to be able to tap into that and notice the present is just really helpful. It just really is helpful. So, how do we get out of that not enough time story? I don't think we really ever lose it, because we're human, and our factory settings are, get things accomplished. Come on, especially in this community, we really like to get gold stars and accomplish things and get those campaign contributions. Come on, you could do it. I can motivate you to do it. But we also have to realize, what's our relationship with that? And can we sometimes come into the present, notice, this gorgeous blue sky that we have so infrequently, the birds, the sensory things, the smells, and the parts of our bodies that feel okay. Yeah. So thank you so much. And thanks, Tammy, for letting me do this. And really, you all touch me in such a fundamental way. I'm so grateful that you are doing what you are doing. Truly, I am. And I'm emotional. It's very important to me what you do. So I just really relish that I had an opportunity to give you something back.